I say what? Ho, this is Brian. Call me the mighty rearranger gardener, coming to you from Ramble On Tower's Dungeon Studio in scenic Hespeler, Ontario. Where the thaw is on and the maple sap flows, and we're celebrating. June 2nd is the big day. We're dying for June 2nd around here. Just found out that's the day they're predicting the last of the snow to go. So June 2nd, big exciting day around these parts. I don't know if anything else happened then. Don't know if anything else happened on June 2nd. Anyway, you're listening to Ramble On Radio, the only Led Zeppelin podcast on this or any other known internets. Be sure to go to rambleonradio.com for all your Led Zeppelin news and any links I might mention during the show. You can subscribe to Ramble On Radio through iTunes. Don't forget to leave a review. Listen on Spreaker. Be sure to follow Ramble On Radio on Spreaker or check it out at I Am Brian Dammit on YouTube. Also, follow Ramble On Radio on Facebook, Google+, and at Ramble On Blog on Twitter. Nailed it. Episode 50, I nailed that whole bit. Episode 50 it took me. This is it. This is the big celebration episode, and we're not really doing anything fancy. We're just not doing anything fancy. Mostly because time is tight, and it takes time to do things fancy. And there's so much to talk about this week. There's so much on my list. I mentioned I'm the mighty rearranger because I've spent all week rearranging this podcast. I had one thing in mind, then the second thing comes up, then the third thing comes up, and we're kind of roll all three of them. It's fundamentally going to be about John Paul Jones' Minibus Pimps album, which I have here. You could see if you get closer to the microphone, you can see it. But a few things that I have to cover first. This is the time frame. You have to get this time frame down. This is what happened last week. On Wednesday, I recorded this podcast. Thursday, on that podcast, I said, I'm betting Ron Nevison's tapes get pulled from auction. On Thursday, I released that podcast. On Friday, tapes are reported by James Cook at Led Zeppelin News, who's had a big week, as no longer at auction. That's right. Jimmy Page listened to this podcast, sick his lawyer, Satan LLB Esquire, on Ron Nevison, after listening to me suggest it on this podcast. It's the only explanation that makes any sense whatsoever. And look, the reality is legalities be damned here. I talked last week about who legally owns the tape, and very possibly Ron Nevison has an appropriate claim to sell that tape. But legalities be damned. When you're Jimmy Page, you have Jimmy Page's finances and resources, and you have Satan, LLB Esquire, for your counsel. You can't fight that if you're just Ron Nevison. You know, what's Ron Nevison got in the bank? I mean, money, I'm sure. I'm sure he's not poverty-stricken, but he's not got anything like the kind of, you know what I mean? It would bankrupt the guy probably to make what? A few $1,000s? So that's it. Those tapes are gone. Probably not to be seen again. Possibly, Jimmy's bought them. Possibly Jimmy contacted him and said, look, we'll do this the easy way. Possibly did the hard way. Depends. I gathered through the years, I've heard of you. I don't know that they like each other very much. I think there was some problems on the Physical Graffiti, right? That he kind of blamed, Jimmy kind of blamed Nevison. And you just kind of get this suggestion that maybe they weren't the best of friends. So who knows if they went nicely or not, but that's that. But it is, they're gone. You can no longer buy those Physical Graffiti. So I'm glad I kind of talked about them last week, because there's really not much to say this week. Okay, the really big news, and this is why I was scrambling this week. I was going to do the podcast yesterday, which is Tuesday, gets it out there Wednesday morning, and then all hell broke loose yesterday when James Cook of Led Zeppelin News reports that the remasters showed up on Amazon.uk. Led Zeppelin 1, Led Zeppelin 2, and Led Zeppelin 3 in remaster form on Led Zeppelin UK. Pictures, small descriptions. And then were fairly promptly pulled. What it appears to have happened was, whenever these things are released, they kind of, the pre-sale, the web pages are put together first, right? But they don't go live with them. They don't link them live. Somebody seemed to have accidentally linked it live or may have just been testing the link, and James caught it really fast. Maybe it was live for half an hour intentionally to test everything out, and which is very conceivable. And in that half an hour, James caught it. Whichever it is, the 3 albums were seen. There's going to be vinyl. The first album will be, it's going to be remastered, be vinyl, and it'll be vinyl plus bonuses as well. Like the bonus discs, a lot of times they release the album on vinyl, then they do bonus discs either as just a CD, or, for instance, I'm reviewing right now the Elton John Go By Yellow Brick Road deluxe edition. I got sent that by Universal, I think it was. And so I'm reviewing it for another website. And it's got 4 discs, including a live, and I can't say much about it because it's another week before I can say anything, I think it is. I think it's the 20th. Yeah, another week and a half before I'm actually legally allowed to say anything. So I'll just tell you, I have it, I'm reviewing it, but as far as I can tell from looking at the stuff, the album itself will be different. Will just be the album, the LP, vinyl. Whereas the CD is a 4 CD set. I think with a DVD in there too. So that's kind of common. And I would presume when you go to iTunes, you can download all 4 of the discs. Or song by song, of course. That's one of the advantages of iTunes. But Led Zeppelin are doing it a little differently. They're also putting out multi-package albums. They've changed the covers of the albums for the multi-package, for the bonus ones. So what you get is you'll get like Led Zeppelin 1 and then 2 bonus discs with Led Zeppelin 1. In this case, it is You Just Heard What It Will Be. I introed with Good Times, Bad Times into Communication Breakdown from Paris, Olympia on October 10th, 1969. And that concert, it was broadcast on FM radio. And it appears that is what, let's put in the picture that we saw, that's what was showing. So it's presumed that picture is accurate, that that's the album that we're getting the 1969, October 10, 1969 concert as the bonus material for the first album. And so, where's our going? And so the cover is, they're doing, it's like, instead of a white cover with black background, black cover with white background. It's a flipped negative or it's inverted coloring anyway. It's different coloring, same covers for those bonus discs. Now, if you just buy the LP, it'll be in the regular package. As far as we can tell, everything's kind of a little up in the air right now. There's supposed to be a press release tomorrow, Thursday, and believe me, I thought about just holding off on this until Thursday. But I wanted to do the Jumbo Jones anyway, and I thought I may never get another chance to do it. This may explode into 3 weeks worth of stuff, right? So, yeah, that's so that's Led Zeppelin 1. Now, Led Zeppelin 2, we don't know what was in the bonus material. It looked like it was 2 of them. Led Zeppelin 3 was 2 albums, 2 LPs. So bonus material was studio stuff, not a live concert. At a guess. Like some people, you look at some of the websites, some people say, oh, some live material, why not outtakes from Led Zeppelin 1? At a guess, between Led Zeppelin 1 and Led Zeppelin 2, you don't have that many outtakes. Led Zeppelin 1 was recorded in like a couple of days' time for a few. Jimmy Page often bragged about, I still have the receipt, we did it for X number of dollars. And, well, we all would love to hear the Gerard Streets, Train Kept Rolling and stuff. It may not exist, or it may not exist in a quality form that, although, you can put in something like this, you can put something that's really low quality, 1 or 2 pieces that's really as historical interest. You can say, look, this was on a tape recorder in the corner of the room. It's awful, but this is what it sounded like, and it's a demo, and people get when they buy that a demo was maybe not up to the snuff. But it may not exist, or it may be in such bad quality that you wouldn't dream of putting it out. So what do they got? But 2 they did on the road. And they did quick into studio. So what do they got extra for 2 even? So you got to figure maybe the second album is bonus material from 1 and 2. But we don't know what's on those. We don't know what's on 2. We've seen the cover. The cover is out there. And I'll be because I haven't posted anything on the website. I've been playing single parent for the last couple of days. And juggling some other stuff, and I worked, I've worked like the last 12 days in a row, and not to be whining, but it can be hard. And I kind of thought about it. It's okay. Do I want to spend the time tomorrow night to sit down and write up a big report on what we found yesterday, when basically the local sites had covered it, when the rumor is, the report is, there will be a press release tomorrow, and once the press release is out, then there's something really significant. So I didn't write anything up, but I will. I have the pictures of the album covers. I will write them up. If you go to the Facebook page right now, it's already posted. YouTube video of the Olympia concert. I'll probably post that as well on the rambleonradio.com. But if you go to Facebook, look up rambleonradio.com, I have embedded the October 10 Olympia concert. So you can have a listen to what you're going to get. Like I say, you just heard a snippet of it. Which leads to the question, that snippet leads to a great question. Why didn't they open with Good Times, Bad Times? Always. It's such a great song. And a phenomenally good opener. And they played it very rarely in those early days, and yet it would have been a great, instead of Train Kept Rolling. Why not that, or why not encore out with Good Times, Bad Times? And what they just did with Good Times, Bad Times, the communication breakdown sounded really hot. Why didn't they do that? But anyway, so that's the first and second album. That's basically what we got covered. The third album, it was going to have the wheel and it's all the stuff. And again, CD, it looks like we know CD and vinyl. We don't know if it's going to be, and this is why, we almost got to wait till tomorrow to see what's really coming. And so the deal is, next week's podcast is going to be about whatever happens tomorrow. I have now gone through all the Mastered for iTunes albums. I've listened to them. I've made some judgments on them. And I can spend the next week I can kind of go over some stuff. We can talk about those in relation to these. Not that they're the same thing. They're likely to be similar, and they're likely to give us some indication of what we're getting. I'll get into that next week. But the Mastered for iTunes, I've listened to it. I'd like to listen to some more. So next week we'll do a really detailed one on the remasters that we know are coming, 1, 2, and 3. It appears those will be first. Record Store Day doesn't appear to be happening. It's got to be announced fairly soon, I would think. There was a report of it, maybe tomorrow when they do this announcement, they do the other. So it's and by the way, that's June 2nd in the UK, probably June 3rd here in the land where the snow never melts, and even in Florida, I guess. I know a lot of people in Florida. This is March break. A lot of people I know in Florida, and I hate every single one of them. By the way, just I should report this. A little off topic, but only in a small time way. I got an email last week from Brian in California, and he wanted to send me a disc. Enjoyed the podcast, wanted to thank me for it, basically. And Brian, thank you so much. Thank you, just thank you. It's so generous of you, and it's not expected. But I'm looking forward to it. It's a disc of some outtakes and whatnot that he had. And he mentioned maybe you can listen to it shoveling snow. And I thought about you a lot today, Brian, because I was out shoveling snow again. We had 2 days where it got warm, and then it just, oh my God, it snowed today. But he also, he was telling me they did a Zepp themed birthday party for his uncle's 50th birthday, and he made I want to get this quite right. The sigils out of steel, handcrafted. It looks great. It does look great, Brian. And then I gotta you see, now I'm losing it. They also had the suit. They get the suit from In Through the Outdoor, and somebody burning the letter at the bar as he walked in the door. And the suit looks great. I could get one of those suits. That looks great. And he also made he apparently he's handy because he also made a Zeppelin. But anyway, he commented on the snow, and I guess I'm talking too much about this. But I wanted to thank him as well for offering to send that stuff. And I'm looking forward to it. And I wanted to shout out to you, Brian. Where the heck was I? Where was I? Oh boy, I got sidetracked there. So yeah, we don't know what's coming in terms of high def. In terms of audiophile stuff, is there going to be a DVD-A, which there was for Celebration Day? All the little details have to come out. Furthermore, it's likely only 3. Oh yeah, Record Store Day is what I was talking about. They may announce something for Record Store Day tomorrow too. Hopefully not one of the albums in a limited edition or something. That would be a pain in the ass. I posted, I think I mentioned last week, the Yardbirds one from the Glimpses box set, and it's got the single of White Summer, and it's got Live Days of Confused, and they're releasing 200 in the U.S. That's it. Just not good enough. And I hope they're not doing something like that for Record Store. They're going to drop something for Record Store Day, drop something that people will go and buy. We have a chance to go buy. That's what I hope. So I'm actually hoping they do a single or two, something like that. Communication Breakdown is a single, re-release some of the singles they kind of hated releasing through the years for Record Store Day. It would be a nice little touch to go with these. But we should find that stuff out tomorrow, and I will write up a report probably this weekend. How's that? By the end of the weekend. And I'll definitely talk about all that next week. Which brings me to Minibus Pimps. Jan Paul Jones. Minibus Pimps. I have the album in front of the microphone. You get closer to the microphone. Look here. I actually got on Twitter, and it's Susanna Sonata record, she's a performer herself. And, it's a small list. So they never got back to me. Let's put it that way. And I was hoping they'd at least say, I was not expecting, oh yeah, here's John Paul Jones going to do an interview about the Minibus Pimps album with you. Not unheard of, though. These things happen. So you hope. But no, I wasn't expecting it. But I was hoping they would say, here's a few clips so I could reasonably... So anyway, I tweeted her as well. I kind of went at her a bit into it, just once, nothing aggressive, and no response. So there was zero response from them. They I don't know. I guess they don't want to push the album or something. I would have loved it if they'd give me at least a couple of 30-second clips or something that I could let you hear what it is. But as it is, I'm trying to avoid playing copyrighted music on this, and I'm not going to do it here. As much as anything, because I bug them a bit. If they listen, they may go, maybe we should listen to this guy, and then hear their copyrighted music and say, oh, that's not good. So, but anyway, I guess I'm reduced to describing music to me, which is hard to do, right? Something I wanted to get into a bit was, I say describing the music. I think I've kind of gone down this road before, and so without being dismissive of what this is, without being condescending, all those sorts of things, I ask, is it music? It is a soundscape. It is a noisescape. It is, it's a lot of things. But is it music? And it's probably a question, in musicology departments at universities that they sit around asking themselves. It's one of those. It's almost a philosophical argument. But to my mind, what makes music? What means music? Melody, harmony, rhythm. If you don't have one of those, do you still have music? Because this does not have one of those. Any one. Now, but there's arguments to be made there. For instance, if I ring a bell and you smash a phone against a desk and, and we turn on a computer printer, I'm just kind of looking around my room, there's 3 different pitches going on there, and so is there harmony? But I would say it's accidental harmony, and there's not a harmonic structure. There's not any kind of thought out harmonic structure to it. The same goes for melody. There's no, when I've been in classical guitar recitals or classical guitar, people play and then the guy critiques them. They always talk about the melody being something you could sing. So I think a melody in that term is, there's a line there that can be sung. There's nothing like that here. There's not even really rhythm. There's just, although there are times, there's times when there's like, you can clearly hear it's a bass, but it's not quite sounding like a bass, going boom, 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 boom. But mostly it's just really kind of noise and sounds and coming in and going out and waving out. And, so it's an interesting discussion, and I don't know that it's really, and I wonder if I would love, I do wish Jones or even Helga Stan or somebody involved with the project had to come on the show. It would have been a discussion I'd love to have with them. Is it music, or what is it if it isn't? 'Cause it's a good question. Or it's not a good question. Maybe it's it's just Christ noise, Brian. It's noise. But I'm trying not to treat it like that. And it's, I have to tell you the truth. I listened to it once at home, and I kind of mentioned I listened to it, and my daughter. I listened to it at work. I burned it, or I ripped it, and put it on my MP3 players at work, and I do a manual, physical job. I'm in a car factory, and I just kind of run a machine, right? And I'm standing there going with my little machine, and I had my headphones on, and I played it. And it was not, it was not just noise all of a sudden. It worked in that environment. It kind of made some sense to me. I don't know how else to say it. Now, I'm not going to say, oh, yeah, I've listened to it 6 times since. I'm hooked. I'm hooked. I got to get the sounds here, I'm hooked on Super Bowl or Black Aurora Part 3. Oh, wow. You got to hear this, guys. But it was not. It was quite interesting to me. And conversely, last night I was working. I'm building a ukulele for my daughter for Christmas. And when I say I'm behind my time, that's what I mean by I'm behind my time. I'm building her ukulele it's March. I'm building her ukulele for Christmas, but I just have not been able to get. And last night I was bending the sides, and it doesn't help that it was really cold and I work in my garage, so that's why. By the way, I didn't get it done before Christmas, so I said I'll get it done for you. But it's been so cold that I only get out there sporadically. But that's another story. That's my excuse. That's all that is really. And yes, Brian, bitching about the cold again. But so I put on Jimmy Page's Lucifer Rising. I wanted to listen to Lucifer Rising as to contrast this one. I kind of wanted to get them both in my head because they're both avant-garde albums. They're both on the same kind of lines. And well, the truth be told, it's not like I own a third avant-garde album. So, it's not. I don't. What can I say? Actually, other than like Helga Sten and his band Super Silent, I don't think I would know another avant-garde artist. Yoko Ono, I guess. I don't actually own any of her stuff. But anyway. And my impression of that before I put it on was that it was going to be calming, relaxing in a way, and I think it was. But anyway, I was bending the sides and I had it on, and it's got that kind of drone sound and stuff coming in and out, and I noticed that it was really deeply focused on what I was doing. Like the music was there and it was playing, but my mind had focused in on what I was doing really well, and I think the soundscape that Jimmy Page created, Lucifer Rising, was helping with that. And Steve Sauer, if you're on For Bad Shoulders Only, Steve Sauer posted about this album. Kind of said he likes avant-garde. He listens to this sort of stuff, and it's calming. And he kind of lays down, and puts him to sleep. And that's and his impression. He didn't think the Minibus Pimps would do that. And I agree. And this is kind of where I wanted to go with it. Really, this is. And I remember the quote quite wrong, but I'm going to grab it out anyway. William S. Burroughs interviewing Jimmy Page. And he talks about, I really enjoyed the concert. I think it was quite really in common with Moroccan trance music. Important. Yes. I wondered if you consciously were using any of that. Well, there is a little of that on a particular track, Kashmir. The lead bass on that, even though none of us have been to Kashmir. So anyway, he's talking about the Morocco trance music. And he's talked at other times about drone, the sound of a drone. And he likes the drone sound. And Kashmir has the drone sound. And White Summer kind of has a drone sound. And, they use it on Page and Plant. Nobody's Fault But Mine. They use a drone, bring it in. And the idea behind the drone is that one sound. And I had to explain this to our drummer when I was playing in a band last year. Well, about 2 years ago, actually. I forget what song we were doing, and he was going, that's kind of a odd-sounding way to do the song. And I was saying, no, the idea is it's a drone, and that rolls right through. I forget what song it was even. That rolls right through it. Everything happens on top of that or below that drone. And it's meant to be trance-like. It's meant to put you in a trance-like state. And that's what Lucifer Rising is. He's got that one kind of sound that runs through it, and then he brings in, but it's, the argument that is it music? Well, there's identifiable melodies that run through it. There's identifiable rhythms that run through it. There's not necessarily a rhythm and a melody, but there's identifiable ones. So it's closer to what would be music by the definition I used earlier. But I really tranced in on what I was doing. I think my impression of Minibus Pimp's album is it's the opposite of that effect, that drone trance-like effect. It's designed to put you on edge. It's designed to stress you. It's designed to make you feel, clench your fists and kind of grit your teeth a bit. Not angry, but aggravated or stressed or... And the point isn't, we want this guy to be we want this guy to leave our concert pissed off. But it's creating a physical reaction with sound. And William S. Burroughs talks about that in the Jimmy Page interview with using undersound. And I've closed the book up. So let's, think I can find it quick? Ooh, look how fast I found that. And he talks about a lot, the concentration of mass energies at the rock concert. Infrasound, he calls it. Infrasound is a sound below the level of hearing. It was developed by a professor in France as a military weapon. So it plays really low below. And it can actually kill you. It's like a sound cannon almost. It's just really low and it rumbles your body. And I think James Bond villains have used it and that sort of thing, right? Same high pitched ones will do the same, make you go. Oh. So that's kind of the effect it's meant to have on you is to put you a bit on edge and get the adrenaline, move some adrenaline in your body. I think that's what they're doing there, and that's what they're after. Or I'm way off topic and I didn't get this. I didn't get it at all. That's the other possibility. But that's what I got out of it. And that was my impression. And it was interesting. I was going to say it last week. That was kind of the way I was going to go with this. And then when Steve wrote, said, I couldn't sleep to this. I just thought, I don't think you're designed to sleep to it. The Jimmy Page is meant to bring you down so you're at your fundamental... I want to say inner peace, but that's not right. But it's, you're focused. It's almost hypnotic. Well, it's trance-like, right? But it's hypnotic. This is meant to the other. It's meant to out you. It's meant to rile you up. So anyway, it's short. For one thing, it's short. It can be had for about $20 US, by the way, if you sniff around. Apparently it's on Amazon. I haven't looked, but apparently it's on Amazon. It is an LP with a CD inside. But it's 7 tracks, 26-minute running time. So 13 minutes aside. It's not long by any stretch of the imagination. And it probably couldn't take 40 minutes because it is, even they say it's noise, or it's, they had a term for it, but it's basically, it's noise. So anyway, so side 1, this as and Steve was commenting that side 1 on the album is actually one long song. There's no dividing track lines, and I didn't look actually. I gotta see. No, I disagree with that. There's a definite definition on the album between the tracks. Definite definition there. So no, it's divided up into parts 1 to 4, Black Aurora, and each one is different. Each one is a little different. Side 1, Black Aurora, part 1. It's kind of got the rumbling bass and then building keyboardy thing, and it sounds very much like the intro to In the Evening, except it's 3 minutes 53 seconds long, and at no time does the snare drum come down and they start into the melody song. It just kind of does that. Number 2, part 2, it kind of sounds like wind blowing and wood chimes, that sort of thing. And it reminded me a bit of the intro to Elton John's Funeral for a Friend. The bell comes in and the wind's blowing, but it lasts 20 or 30 seconds, and then the piano kicks in and resolves it. And that's the key point here. And this is something The Who did very well, by the way. Pete Townsend writes, he uses what's called, all the time, suspended chords. And a suspended chord kind of puts you on a little bit of edge. But the rule is, the musical rule is, you resolve the suspended chord. So, and you've heard them, you would recognize them immediately. Let's see if I'm in tune. Okay, I'm in tune. So that's a suspended chord. There's the actual chord, and that's what you do. You go, so on Boston's, that's suspended, resolved. So there you go, suspended, regular, suspended. And this last chord is, and that's all on a D, by the way, is resolved. And that's, Pete Townsend liked to just play them and never resolve them. And when you do that, you create kind of a stress and you never release it. And it's what made The Who's music sound angry. And this is kind of the same thing. They create the stress, and they never release the stress. They never, there's never that moment. Which like in the Elton John, when that piano kicks in, it's gorgeous. And it's gorgeous in part because it's contrasting with the bell and the wind, and then just, it rises over it, and it resolves that sound. Black Aurora Part 3, 352 on the second one, 336 on the third one. Sounds like a broken mandolin is what, and I don't even remember what but it sounds like a broken mandolin. And I suspect he's playing it and it kind of crunching, or the strings are, I don't remember why I wrote that, but that was my impression. And Part 4 sounds like a space movie. It sounds like an old Twilight Zone episode, that sort of thing. No, sorry, that's another one, actually. It's more like, but space movie kind of stuff, very spacey stuff. And I remember my daughter saying, this sounds like an old 1950s space movie. Yeah, that's true. So that's it, side 1. So that's, what do we got there? 3 6, 10, 13, 14, 15, 16 minutes. 16 minutes. 15 to 16 minutes. Side 1. Side 2 starts with Cloud to Ground, the title song. And this one sounded like... we talk about the drone, a monkey organ grinder gives a drone-like thing. And that's what this sounded like. My note is, it sounds like an organ grinder where the monkey has killed the organ grinder and killed the little dying guy and taken his grinder. So it's a monkey going crazy on the organ grinder. And that's 4:14. Second song, Arc, is 4 minutes 30 seconds, and it's a drone, like a small plane, a drone effect. And it just kind of, these things, they just kind of build. They just kind of do it, and then they build, and they bring in another odd sound occasionally, but it just kind of rumbles along. And then finally, Superbolt at 4:20 sounds like seagulls in a thunderstorm, or spaceship landing, or scared monkeys. And my impression of this one would be, this is really the 1950s movies, the terror, the Twilight Zone, where a guy walks into a room and it's like, sound comes up. That's kind of what that was. It was 4 minutes, 35 seconds of that. So that's side 2. And that's what, 4, 12, 13 and a half minutes. That's it. So even if you're thinking, I'm going to get it, but I don't know if I can listen to the whole thing, really, it's not that long. It's not that offensive. And it does make you, it gives you, it puts you somewhere, it gives you something, it makes you feel something, it moves you, not in the way you expect music to move you, not like, not, I want to get up and dance, or you're sitting crying at Le Bohème, Pagliacci's singing Le Bohème, it's not like it doesn't move you that way, but it moves you, and it's a physical feeling it gives you. And I'm surprised to say, oh dear God, I'm expanding my horizons. I'm surprised to say I think there's room for it. I mean, obviously, if you like it, there's room for it. But you know what I mean? I can see listening to this, and I can see, I think for the first time ever when something like this, I can see where somebody might enjoy it. But that said, all that said, this needs to be made really clear. Daryl tweeted me last week and kind of said, perhaps, I think his term was, perhaps what you were looking for is for completists only. And if completist is somebody who has to have all the Led Zeppelin albums, then yes. If you have to have all the Led Zeppelin albums, you can get this. And James Cook was contacted me when I posted a picture of it, because he was hoping this disc, he wanted to leave it closed. So that's a completist. I don't want to open the album. I just want to have it. But he was hoping the disc was going to be on the outside, so he could at least listen to that. That's a completist. Completist has to have it anyway. Maybe they'll never listen to it. Now, I'm not going to listen to it all the time. Just like I'm not going to listen to Lucifer Rising all the time. But again, I was surprised at how effective it was, at what I was doing. And I could see it going on again, both of them. But look, it's not for everybody. And if $20 is hard to come by for you, and you've never you've never heard avant-garde before, you've never liked avant-garde before or anything, you're not going to like this. It's not going to be for you. If you want to take a flyer on it, take a flyer on it. Go to iTunes, and I should be careful saying this, but you can usually buy the whole album or the songs. I think it's $9.99 in iTunes, but you could probably buy one or two of the songs and give it a listen and see what you think. And you could certainly play through the songs, right? They usually have a sample, but and I would recommend. I don't know. I'd hate to recommend any of it. I don't know this stuff well enough, but my impression, go with something like Cloud to Ground, Superbolt, or Black Aurora Part 1. How's that? And, maybe give those a listen. Maybe, and let's see what it's about. Buy one of those and see what it's about. That's going to cost you $1.99. Or don't. If I'm not recommending this album to anybody, I promise you, I will never listen to this album in the house when my family is around. The fact that my daughter was when I first put it on, but I kind of apologized to her in advance, like, this is going to be weird. But I do a podcast and I have to do this. And she went, oh, okay. And she kind of listened, it's on, she shrugged her shoulders like it's not awful. And that's true. It's not awful. So I cannot say I recommend it. I cannot say go out and buy it. I can say if you're curious, give it a listen, and give it a serious. Be doing something and put it on, and put it on loud, or don't pull out the crystal decanter with and pour yourself a Jameson and sit and put it on. It's not going to work for you that way. It simply isn't. By the way, yes, I have a crystal decanter full of Jamesons upstairs, and I sit and listen, but not to this. It's actually kind of how I do the opera. That's what I do. But it's not that kind of thing. But yeah, I mean, if you're working, might be something interesting to have in the back. And it does. There is a reaction to it. If you let the reaction happen, be a reaction beyond Jesus. This is shite. If you let the reaction happen. But again, I can't recommend it. I'm not telling you go buy it. I'm not telling you you'll enjoy it. I simply can't do that. That's all I can tell you is that's my impressions. That's where I'm at with it right now. And, it was interesting. It was an interesting album. It was more interesting. I really was not expecting to find it interesting. I guess the fundamental thing. I was expecting to listen to it once, come on here and go, try to have a serious discussion. The subject of is it music, is it not, is a philosophical issue that I could take to the bank. Outside of that, I kind of figured I'd be saying, but really it's crap, and move on. But I couldn't say it's crap. But again, I don't know what to say it is either. And I saw somebody somewhere saying, Jonesy's in that. I didn't like Thunder Thief so much, but I liked the other one, his other solo album. And I thought, oh, dude, you're so missing the point. It's nothing like anything you have heard him do before. This is as relevant to Led Zeppelin or to Thunder Thief as the opera he's writing is going to be. And that's the fundamental point. If you think you'll never like opera, if you think I'll never put on an opera album and go, then there's not a lot of point in going out and checking out John Paul Jones's opera when it's finished. And the same applies to this. If you think you're never going to dig ambient noise, then and there was a term I thought of it. It's like audio chaos, which would have been a great name for the album. This probably is an avant-garde album, but audio chaos is something I thought it really felt like. And if you don't think if that's not your thing, you will probably not like this. And I don't know. That's all I can say. You know where I'm at on it. I think I'm making myself over clear, baby. But that's it. Next week we're going to talk. I'm excited. We're going to talk remasters. Finally, remasters. And there's a good chance we're going to talk remasters. Then we're going to talk remasters. And by the time June 2nd comes around, we're going to be so sick of remaster talk. But that's for another day. Next week is going to be a good one because I'm going to go there, because I'm going to talk about the everything we know. I'll discuss in some detail. How's that? So thank you for listening. This has been Ramble On Radio, episode number 50. I was looking for some 50 sound effects at least, and I found nothing. So I got nothing. Check out rambleonradio.com for notes on this week's podcast, Led Zeppelin news, reviews, and any links I mentioned in today's podcast. Follow Ramble On Radio on Facebook, Google+, and at Ramble On Blog on Twitter. Woohoo, got it again. You can subscribe to Ramble On Radio through iTunes. Don't forget to leave a review. Listen on Spreaker. Be sure to follow Ramble On Radio on Spreaker. And check it out at I Am Brian Dammit on YouTube. Thank you for listening to Ramble On Radio. I will see you next week for episode number 51.
Switch off the internet.
Also, follow Ramble On Radio on Facebook, Google+, and at Ramble On Blog on Twitter. Nailed it. Episode 50. I nailed that whole bit. Episode 50 it took me. This is it. This is the big celebration episode, and we're not really doing anything fancy. We're just not doing anything fancy. Mostly because time is tight, and it takes time to do things fancy. And there's so much to talk about this week. There's so much on my list. I mentioned I'm the Mighty Rearranger because I've spent all week rearranging this podcast. I had one thing in mind, then the second thing comes up, then the third thing comes up, and we're kind of roll all three of them. It's fundamentally going to be about John Paul Jones' Minibus Pimps album, which I have here. You could see if you get closer to the microphone, you can see it. I say what? Ho, this is Brian, call me the Mighty Rearranger Gardener, coming to you from Ramble On Tower's Dungeon Studio in scenic Hespeler, Ontario. Where the thaw is on and the maple sap flows, and we're celebrating. June 2nd is the big day. We're dying for June 2nd around here. Just found out that's the day they're predicting the last of the snow to go. So June 2nd, big exciting day around these parts. I don't know if anything else happened then. Don't know if anything else happened on June 2nd. Anyway, you're listening to Ramble On Radio, the only Led Zeppelin podcast on this or any other known internets. Be sure to go to rambleonradio.com for all your Led Zeppelin news and any links I might mention during the show. You can subscribe to Ramble On Radio through iTunes. Don't forget to leave a review. Listen on Spreaker. Be sure to follow Ramble On Radio on Spreaker, or check it out at I Am Brian Dammit on YouTube. But a few things that I have to cover first. This is the time frame. You have to get this time frame down. This is what happened last week. On Wednesday, I recorded this podcast. Thursday, on that podcast, I said, I'm betting Ron Nevison's tapes get pulled from auction. On Thursday, I released that podcast. On Friday, tapes are reported by James Cook at Led Zeppelin News, who's had a big week, as no longer at auction. That's right. Jimmy Page listened to this podcast, sick his lawyer, Satan LLB Esquire, on Ron Nevison, after listening to me suggest it on this podcast. It's the only explanation that makes any sense whatsoever. And look, the reality is legalities be damned here. I talked last week about who legally owns the tape, and very possibly Ron Nevison has an appropriate claim to sell that tape. But legalities be damned. When you're Jimmy Page, you have Jimmy Page's finances, resources, and you have Satan, LLB Esquire, for your counsel. You can't fight that if you're just Ron Nevison. What's Ron Nevison got in the bank? I mean, money, I'm sure. I'm sure he's not poverty-stricken, but he's not got anything like the kind of, you know what I mean? It would bankrupt the guy probably to make what? A few $1,000s? So that's it. Those tapes are gone, probably not to be seen again. Possibly, Jimmy's bought them. Possibly Jimmy contacted him and said, look, we'll do this the easy way. Possibly did the hard way. Depends. I gathered through the years, I've heard of you. I don't know that they like each other very much. I think there was some problems.